You wait patiently in the equipment cage line and your time has come. The cage attendant asks you if you have a reservation. You say yes. It's a Canon Rebel. The cage attendant grins and replies, "Good. It's the last one." The cage attendant places the bag in front of you and says, "Have a nice day." But you know better than to walk away. You double check your gear on the bag's checklist. Zoom lens? Yes. Battery? There's one. You ask for 2. Battery charger? Check. Strap? It's on the camera. But something's missing. An SD card. But you have your own. Hopefully. Now you can prep for your shoot by opening up the camera on the slide slot and entering your SD card. Format the card by clicking Menu and using the right and left toggle buttons on the back. Navigate to the wrench icon, Settings, then go to Format Card. Now insert the battery at the bottom of the camera. Align the copper terminals on the bottom of the battery with the contact points inside the battery slot. It should slide in easily and completely. Now for the lens. Make sure your work area is clean. Take the lens cap off the back part of the lens. The cap turns slightly and comes right off. Set the cap aside and put the lens down carefully. Now you pick up the camera and turn the mount cap slightly. Now align the white dot on the lens with the white dot on the camera. Give the camera a slight turn until you get a satisfying click. You throw the caps in the bag for safekeeping. Before you shoot, peek through the viewfinder at a flat, even surface. Our New Mexico blue skies are often a good candidate. Look for hair, blotches, or smudges. To turn on the camera, you'll notice a switch on top of the camera that switches from off, on, and to movie mode. You'll also see a dial that gives you a number of exposure modes. You want M to have control over all aspects of exposure. Before you shoot, you set the camera's frame rate. The Q menu gives you easy access to a number of settings, like white balance, picture profiles, and frame rate. Use the dial on the back of the camera to browse through the settings until you get to the frame rate and resolution properties. Select the one you want and hit the center button on the dial. Now you're ready to take your first exposure. Remember from class that each aspect of exposure can also change the quality of your image. Shutter affects motion blur, aperture affects depth of field, and ISO affects the image's noise level. To set the ISO, simply press the ISO button on the top of the camera. You will see the ISO settings on the display. Use the toggle on the back of the camera to choose the setting that you want. The lowest number will give you the least noise. For the shutter, simply scroll through your settings using the shutter wheel next to the record button on the top of the camera. You set the shutter speed to double the frame rate for a more filmic look. The math is 1 over frame rate times a half, but don't fret your algebra. Just remember, 1/48th of a second for 24 frames per second, and 1/60th of a second for 30 frames per second. You were shooting 24 frames per second, so you set the shutter to 50, which is close to 48. Now to set the aperture, press and hold the AV button on the back of the camera as you scroll the wheel next to the record button. To bracket exposures, you start with a correctly exposed image, f8. Then one full stop overexposed, f5.6. Then another exposure at a full stop underexposed, f11. To set white balance, you set your camera to on for stills. You take a photo of something white under your lights. Then, go into your menu and select Custom White Balance in the third Camera Settings menu. Search for the photo you just took and click Set. You return the camera on time. Everything is neatly organized and in working order. The cage attendant says, "Have a nice day." And you do. You have a great day.